Hi, I'm Rita Wilkins, also known as the Downsizing Designer. So tonight is kind of an interesting night because there are some things going on right now in our lives that I think we're all concerned about. And the topic tonight is called Cure Your Love-Hate Relationship with Clutter this spring. So there's definitely a clutter crisis going on in America right now, and it's making us sick, literally. And according to a recent study by the National Association of Professional Organizers, 54% of Americans are overwhelmed by their clutter. 55% experience some stress because of clutter, and 33% hang on to things even though they no longer want, need, or even use them. So if we all just look around our own homes at the unopened boxes in the garage, in the basement, in your storage unit, perhaps that's what brought you here tonight, along with another 1,200 people. There were almost 2,500 people that were interested in this from all over the country and also from around the world. So I'm really glad you're here. And for those of you who follow me on social media, read my books or my blogs, you know how committed I am to helping you clear your clutter so that you can enjoy a simpler life with less, so that you can have more time, money, and freedom and energy for those things that matter most to you. So whatever it is that you wish you had more of, more time, more money, more freedom, to do whatever that is available to you when you declutter and live a life with less stuff. So my topic tonight is called Cure Your Love-Hate Relationship with Clutter, especially this spring, since we kind of all have spring cleaning on our minds. So what does it mean to have a love-hate relationship with clutter? So it's when you have two strongly opposing emotional charged views around clutter. You love it and you hate it. So how could that be? So these are just a few of the examples where you could have a love-hate relationship with clutter. So think about paper. So paper is actually our number one clutter challenge. I don't know if you know that or not, but I look around my house right now and I say, okay, I've also still got trouble with clutter and trouble with paper. So how many of you received unsolicited junk mail today? And how many of you have old newspapers or magazines that you'll read when you get around to them? Or how many of you have cut out recipes or articles that you intend to read when you can finally sit down and have time? So this is how it all happens. It just continues to pile up. So most of us despise that kind of clutter, right? But as much as you say you hate that paper clutter, I bet you could find some in your house right now, because I know I can. And yet, the other side, how many of you have saved old love letters or journals from years ago or greeting cards? And how many of you still have your kids' first grade artwork? I do, stored in a box somewhere. And how many of you have newspaper clippings that maybe from when you were nominated prom queen or something like that? So you love those papers, or at least you're emotionally attached to them, because they bring back memories, good and bad, so that you have difficulty letting them go. So you have some paper, so you love some paper clutter and you hate other paper clutter. And as it builds up, so does the clutter in your home, so does the chaos, and so does the anxiety and overwhelm with clutter. So what do you do with it? What is the cure for paper clutter? So here's 3 solutions, and this, you don't even have to write this down, just kind of put it in your brain and hold on to it. So if you create 3 mental piles, one is called ditch it, and that would be anything that just needs to be removed. So it's those old newspapers, it's that junk mail, it's those flyers that come in the mail that you didn't ask for. The second mental pile is to deal with it. So it requires some action. So if you have bills to pay, or if you have invitations to respond to. Those are the kind of things that you deal with. And then the last pile, mental pile, is digitize it, and that's to save space. So think about your birth certificate, your passport, photos, and the kids' artwork. So you can digitize it and save space. So if you make a habit of using these three Ds every day, so ditch, deal, or digitize, you'll soon see how there's a huge reduction in the amount of paper clutter that you have in your home. So the second biggest clutter challenge that people want a cure for is books. So if you are inundated with books, and if you love them on one hand, but you hate them on the other hand because they collect so much dust and you don't read them anyway, so you kind of just wonder, like, why do I even have that? So there is that love-hate relationship there. The cure for too many books is it's simpler than you actually think. So start by sorting your books into 3 piles. So one is keep, the other is donate, and the other is repurpose it. So repurposing is, and I do this sometimes just to decorate with books, like on your bookcase, have some pretty bindings there. So if you're keeping, they go back to where they were, and you might even want to reread them along the way. If you're donating them, consider some of those, those little free neighborhood libraries that are popping up everywhere. You see them on everybody's street. If you don't have one, maybe you could start one. Also a senior center or a local church or community library. These are all ways that you can actually donate books still, and people do appreciate them. So if you're repurposing them and decorating with them, well, then put them on the shelves or on the coffee table and give all of that just a refresh. So as an aside, it's always necessary to understand why we bought those books in the first place. So when you think about why, and this was in the day when we would go to the bookstore, and I still love bookstores, but self-help or aspirational or travel, why not think through like why you bought those books in the first place? Because they were there for a reason. So, and other things people people want to hang on to that they need a clutter cure for are old photos. So every time I think about it, people are asking me, how do I get rid of my photos, or how do I deal with photos? So you might have heard of Legacy Box. I probably should advertise for them because I talk about it every day, but legacybox.com will take your photos, your old film, and they will digitize it for you and return it to you. So, but one of the ways that my family recently dealt with a lot of photos, 8 boxes as a matter of fact, we spent a wonderful day together in Rhode Island. After a wonderful dinner, we sorted through 8 boxes of photos that had been sitting in our parents' basement and then later on my sister's basement. Now, the hate part of this, the love-hate part of it, is that she really didn't want to keep having all these boxes sitting in her basement. So in an effort to declutter those family photos that were taking up room in her house, she invited all of us for a lovely dinner and for photo sorting. So the cure then was that we were all able to sit around and share memories and look at the photos. And then what happened then was that they all became digitized. So now we can carry all of those family photos that we chose to keep on one little thumb drive. So emotions, other ways that we can express our intense emotions about clutter, that love-hate relationship, is by what we say to each other. We say it to ourselves, we say it to our partners. So you've probably heard people say, I know I certainly have in my world, my husband loves to keep stuff, he's a pack rat, and I love to purge. So if you can hear any of these things that you've said or you've had said to you, it's one of those love-hate relationships between couples and in families. Another one you might hear is, my wife loves yard sales and thrift shops, and I hate to shop. And another one was, my wife loves to read books, and I love my Kindle. So this love-hate language creates barriers on solving your clutter crisis. And I'm a designer, I'm definitely not a therapist, but I have heard these conversations over and over again in my design world. So while I don't have a cure for that, I do recommend that you just have a really honest conversation and find out what is the common ground that you can both share to reduce the amount of clutter in your home and cure that clutter once and for all. So I hope this helps you. For those of you that are new, welcome. And for those of you that show up every single week, I appreciate you. Make sure that you comment below. We do read the comments because so many of the blogs and the Facebook Lives that I create are based on what you say you really want to hear about. So I'd love to hear from you. Also, go to our website, Design Services Ltd, and in the lifestyle section, we have what we call the Good Life blog, and there's over 550 blogs in there right now on downsizing, decluttering, and also interior design. Okay, I'll talk to you next week. Have a great week.